anino kaja bitan alfelo kam de sirin alle kala ya sizin dana zol ma woni kidi zol ore jabu woni kidi ni shabu to ma ku de dama zaman ta ka ya jama'a ha dama zaman ta ka shabu ya jama'a ya sizin dana de zaman ta development na zara mu development na da hini le sha al shabu ya ra de bele zaman bita mun ta kala kan mudari chani sha ta da shariya ya sizin agui de guri ta sha dama guri bita ku Adang gara kul bibi buta kumur ai dia lekala dolar maji de moyal ba ara gari sumi to ga dolar usul sikni ka udalati alekala dia tu dole de dolar manju anas al mufuli dona manju mufuli ngada man kaliya ni na kala chani bi juba zor al bagedam sha ni sabani kal kibal nazal mad ajil al balad okay yala al sogarin al barba al balad bi butan mudda ja kalam da wani zor bageli madun mo zor bageli madun hajal tira tarbit buto
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, good afternoon. This is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. Several students who sat for the 2024 South Sudan Certificate of Secondary Education examinations have expressed frustration over the continued delay in the release of their results. The Minister of Information in Warab State says 19 staff of the State Revenue Authority who were detained by the military in Western Bahr Ghazal have been released. And the governor of the Bank of South Sudan has formed a currency management committee tasked to review the structure of the South Sudan pound and recommend changes that match the country's economic needs and regional standards. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Baria Johnson, and now the news in detail. Several students who sat for the 2024 South Sudan Certificate of Secondary Education examinations have expressed frustration over the continued delay in the release of their results. In December 2024, more than 50,000 candidates took the National Secondary School exams at 319 centers across the country. However, more than 6 months later, the results are yet to be released, leaving students anxious about their academic futures. Speaking to iRadio this morning, Ian Beck, one of the affected students, said the delay is having a significant impact, especially on female candidates.
The delaying of the results is really affecting we, the candidates from last year, due to so many reasons. You know, the examination that we did, not everyone is going to make it. We have so many people who are not going to make it, who are going to fail. So how is the government going to help those who are going to repeat this year anyway? When now teachers are going far with notes, you don't make it. How are you going to catch up with the lessons that are going further now? And also, according to my own way, the way it's going to affect me. You know, papers are going to take almost 1 year for it to be out. And again, it will take us another 1 year to wait for forms in the university. That's 2 years wasted home. Do you think everyone is going to also wait for those 2 years to stay home? And it's going to affect most of the girls. The message I have for the government is they should know that the delaying of the result is really affecting girls' child education. They should at least avoid the delaying of the results. So
Jimmy Dole, another student awaiting results, described the delay as both burning and painful, calling for urgent reforms in the education system.
It is actually a burning issue to all the candidates or even to the people who are going to sit also, because it is something that needs to be changed actually. Like right now in other countries, those who sat last year, they are already in university or going to next level. And for us here in South Sudan, we are just still at home doing some kind of little activities that we are at least surviving on. So it is actually painful. So you can sit, like you take 1 year waiting for the result of which is paining us a lot. And actually, even some people right now, they don't even feel like going to school because there's no point of you sitting and you wait for the result, like taking 1 year without getting the result. So it is actually affecting us a lot in a way that at least government should improve on site activities. I think the government just need to improve on that to improve the quality of the education.
Meanwhile, Emmanuel Alafi echoed similar concerns, urging the Minister of General Education and Instruction to provide a clear explanation regarding the delay.
We are not feeling unhappy because we are not thinking of, by this time the results will be out. Some of us will be thinking of enrolling to the university, going to do their things out there so that they make it. But now hopes are now getting drained because we are losing hope since the result is delayed. We are really having a lot of, we are thinking a lot now. What is the problem? And it's just for the ministry, it's not even informing us about when it's going to come out or what is the problem, why is the result delayed. To the government, I think what I would want to say to them is that the government should really work hard to improve the education system in South Sudan.
Students and education advocates are now calling on the authorities to act swiftly and release the exam results to avoid further disruption to students' academic journeys. When iRadio phoned the Minister of General Education, Dr. Kuyuk Abul Kuyuk, his phone went unanswered several times. Other ministry officials, including the Executive Director of the National Examination Council, declined to comment. However, before the release of the 2024 Certificate of Primary Examination, it confirmed receiving 2 billion South Sudan pounds, which was only 28% of the required budget from the Finance Ministry to mark both primary and secondary school exams. The Minister of Information in Warrap State says 19 staff of the State Revenue Authority who were detained by the military in Western Bahr el Ghazal have been released. They were arrested alongside members of security organs following a misunderstanding between the state government and Division 11 commands. The arrested staff had been deployed by the government of Warrap State to conduct security checks at key bridges, notably Makwe Karsid in Tony Town and Karkweng Bridge. However, according to the Minister of Information, Mamerbak, the Division 11 Command had not been informed of the directive beforehand, which led to a misunderstanding and their subsequent arrest on 13th June 2025 at various checkpoints. Speaking to iRadio this morning, Minister Mamerbak confirmed the release of the personnel.
That was carried out on 13th by the 11 command, and then later on they were kept in Majangtit. Then the day before yesterday, on the 20th, they were transferred to WOW. Then from there, through the import of our governor plus the military command, there were some reports. Those reports, later on, they were released yesterday.
The personnel were handed over on Monday in Wau, the capital of Western Bahr el Ghazal State, by Division 5 commanders to the government of Arab State. They were received by the State Minister of Cabinet Affairs, Achwil Malai Aliab, on behalf of Ambassador Bolwek Agoth, Governor of Arab State. The state government has apologized to the misunderstanding and appreciated the National Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Forces, and the Army commanders for their cooperation. The governor of the Bank of South Sudan has formed a currency management committee tasked to review the structure of the South Sudan pound and recommend changes that match the country's economic needs and regional standards. Yesterday, Dr. Addis Ababa Utho led a high-level meeting focused on fixing and managing the country's national currency. The meeting brought together the first and second deputy governors, director general, among others, to begin work on a new roadmap for currency reform and broader economic stability. He said, and I quote, This meeting sends a strong message. We have started the journey of fixing and managing our currency. It is an inclusive process that will leave no one behind. End quote. During the discussion, the team focused on several key areas, including improving the current monetary policy, addressing cash flow and liquidity challenges, expanding digital banking, and strengthening the currency's security features. The governor added that the overall goal was to support the central bank's vision of maintaining price stability and building a strong and credible financial system. The Currency Management Committee is chaired by First Deputy Governor Samuel Mikaya, who reaffirmed the group's commitment to developing a concrete solution. He said, and I quote, "The committee will study the current situation and recommend tangible solutions to address liquidity challenges." End quote. Last month, some members of the public who shared their struggles withdrawing money from banks due to cash shortages called for urgent reforms to restore their trust in the banking sector. Many said they were told they only receive small amounts due to a shortage of liquidity. In several statements, the Bank of South Sudan and commercial banks reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening working relationships within the country's banking and financial sectors. In February 2025, the Bank of South Sudan announced the establishment of a national instant payment system to ease transactions between persons, financial and government institutions and businesses. The financial regulator launched the initiative in collaboration with African ENDA, an independent African-led organization working toward accelerating the expansion of inclusive instant payment systems across the continent. According to experts, reviewing a currency structure means analyzing how a currency is used, managed, and regulated within a country or organization. It involves assessing the type of currency, exchange rate systems, monetary policy, and economic stability. The review may also cover legal frameworks, international trade implications, and how currency risks are managed. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. The Supreme Court on Monday granted President Donald Trump's emergency request to resume deporting migrants to third countries, including South Sudan, according to Western media reports. In May, the Trump administration reportedly deported about a dozen migrants from countries including Myanmar and Vietnam to South Sudan, a move that violated a federal judge's order barring deportation of immigrants to third countries. Weeks following the move, a U.S. federal court imposed an injunction pausing the move. However, in a ruling on Monday, the Supreme Court unsigned order stopped a lower court ruling that had blocked the practice, calling it a constitutional violation. The decision is a major win for the Trump administration, which argued the lower court had overstepped by requiring the Department of Homeland Security to notify migrants of their destination and allow legal challenges. The court's three liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Elana Kogan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, disagreed with the decision. The Trump administration celebrated the ruling online. The Department of Homeland Security spokesperson posted, and I quote, "Fire up the deportation planes." And finally, South Sudan delegates to the just concluded St. Petersburg International Forum in Russia have called for an urgent need for infrastructure, legislation, and data utilization to position the nation well in the artificial intelligence age. Speaking at the event, the managing director of the Media Authority, Elijah Alier, stressed the need for legislation to guide the proper use of artificial intelligence and space science technologies.
Artificial intelligence has become a key in this forum, simply because it has so many benefits, and there is no way you can be able to progress without embracing the artificial intelligence as well as the ICT in general. So as a media sector and government of South Sudan, we need to double our effort to form some legislation to support these converging ideas.
On his part, the Secretary General of the Universal Services Access Fund, Engineer Mabe Emmanuel, underscored the importance of infrastructure development if the country is to truly benefit from digital transformation and artificial intelligence.
We have a lot of data in the country for the government institutions, and we also need to make use of this data. How do we keep this data, and how do we use the data? This is a very important takeaway for us as South Sudan delegation. And this also calls for our ministry to focus on the issue of infrastructure development that enhances the ICT, because we cannot talk about data when we don't have a data center.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the National Communication Authority, Gieth Kon Mathiang, called for the utilization of South Sudan's recently allocated orbital slot, citing immense benefits in the field of space science.
We also must position ourselves trying to protect that slot has been given us as a space. We need to protect it because the space become a resource. And for us to, as a country, we're positioned to protect that space so that in future we are planning to also to position ourselves as a country, trying to put our technology, we can put a satellite that can benefit our country.
Engineer Thomas Gatkoth Nyak, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Information, said artificial intelligence will boost production levels and reshape the labor force in the country. He argues that rather than replacing humans, AI is designed to work alongside them in advancing progress. Engineer Gatkoth assured that South Sudan should not fear the challenges associated with AI.
Artificial intelligence is expected to boost the level of production. It will also influence labor force, and it encourages education of the young people. So it supports human.
You are listening to iRadio News, and now for the regional and international news, we are joined by my colleague Helen Samuel.
Good afternoon and welcome to the international news beginning from Mali. Mali and Russia have signed a series of agreements aimed at expanding mutual trade and strengthening economic ties. Among them is a pledge for greater cooperation on nuclear energy, according to details released by Kremlin. The announcement of the deals came during a visit by Mali's junta leader Colonel Assimi Goïta to Moscow, which included 2 hours of talks with President Vladimir Putin, Russian state media report. Elsewhere, Israel's defense minister Israel Katz accuses Iran of violating the ceasefire 2 hours after agreeing to the deal brokered by Donald Trump and Qatar. Iran denies firing missiles at Israel after the ceasefire began, state media reports. Katz vows to respond forcefully to Iran's violation of the ceasefire with intense strikes against regime targets in the heart of Tehran. Finally, Thailand has imposed restrictions on all travelers heading into Cambodia as the two countries remain locked in a bitter border dispute. The ban applies to any vehicle or person trying to cross into Cambodia from checkpoints across several Thai provinces, as well as foreign tourists flying into Siem Reap. The military said in a statement on Monday that the new restrictions matched the current security situation. Those are some of the stories trending across the globe. Back to you at the news desk.
Thank you, Helen Samuel. And now to the sports news with Lasuba Memo.
Thanks, Baria Johnson. In the world of sports, the South Sudan Football Federation has amended Article 52 to allow the transfer window to continue up to 30th of July in the state of June. In a major organizational update, the Federation Executive Committee, through its virtual meeting held yesterday, requested amendments to 2 executive articles of the 2012 General Regulations, amended in 2019. Article 52.1, all text says from June 1st to June 30th is the cooling off period, registration and major contracts. And now amended to form from June 1st to July 30th is the rest period, registration and transfers of players, including the signing of major contracts. Elsewhere, Paris Saint-Germain beat Seattle Sounders to seal their place in the FIFA Club World Cup knockout stages. The European champions win Group B and will play the runners-up of the Group A, Inter Miami. Their opening goal had a hint of fortune to it, with Bittenhaz's 20-yard first-time drive ahead of off-target before hitting Vicha Kvaratskhelia on the back and going in. They added a second on the counter with Ashraf Hakimi slamming in from Bradley Bakola's pass. PSG deserved their victory in Seattle, with Desire Doy forcing 3 stops from Sounders keeper Stefan Frey. Lionel Messi will face former club Paris Saint-Germain at the FIFA Club World Cup as Inter Miami drew 2-2 with Palmeiras. To reach the knockout stages, a point was sufficient for both sides to progress, but Tadeo Allende and Luis Suarez had Inter cruising at 2-0 in front of 60,914 fans at Hard Rock Stadium. Finally, West Bromwich Albion have signed defender Nat Phillips from Liverpool for an undisclosed fee. The 28-year-old, who managed to make just 19 Premier League appearances for Liverpool in his 9 years on the books of Anfield side, joins the Championship club on a 3-year deal. That's all in the world of sports. Back to you, Baria Johnson.
Thank you, Lasuba Memo. This is iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Several students who sat for the 2024 South Sudan Certificate of Secondary Education examinations have expressed frustration over the continued delay in the release of their results. The Minister of Information in Warrap State says 19 staff of the State Revenue Authority who were detained by the military in Western Bahr el Ghazal have been released. And the governor of the Bank of South Sudan has formed a currency management committee tasked to review the structure of the South Sudan pound and recommend changes that match the country's economic needs and regional standards. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Baria Johnson. Thank you for listening.